Hello, my friends. My name is Melissa from Melissa's Struggling Walk with Jesus. I'm here today to share the Word of God with you using the Amplified Holy Bible and the Navigator's Bible Reading Plan. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 1 Samuel chapter 24 and 25. So once I get there, again, that's 1 Samuel chapter 24 and 25. Okay, so chapter 24, the title is David Spares Saul's Life, and it says, When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. In verse 1 where it says wilderness. For example, this is an oasis overlooking the Salt Sea. Verse 2. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all Israel and went to search for David and his men in front of the rocks of the wild goats. Verse 3. On the way he came to the sheepfolds where there was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the cave's innermost recesses. In verse 3 where it says sheepfolds, this was a wall of stones that had been unearthed from the field and stacked on each other as an enclosure for the flocks. The wall probably was built from the mouth of the cave and back. Also in verse 3, where it says relieve himself. Other Bible literature says cover his feet. It's an euphemism for the squatting position that one would take with the outer robe touching the ground and concealing one's feet as a result. All right, verse 4. David's men said to him, Behold, this is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will hand you over your enemy to you, and you shall do to him as seems good to you. Then David arose in the darkness and stealthily cut off the hem, the edge of Saul's robe. Verse 5. Afterward, David's conscience bothered him because he had cut off the hem of Saul's robe. All right, in verse 5 where it says conscience, other Bible literature says heart struck him. All right, verse 6. And he said to his men, The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my master, the Lord's anointed, to put out my hand against him, since he is the anointed of the Lord. So David strongly rebuked his men with these words, and did not let them rise up against Saul. Saul got up, left the cave, and went on his way. Then David also got up afterward, and went out of the cave, and called after Saul, saying, My lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David bowed with his face to the ground, and lay himself face down. And David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of men who say, David seeks to harm you? Behold, your eyes have seen today how the Lord had given you into my hand in the cave. Some told me to kill you, but I spared you. I said, I will not reach out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Look, my father, indeed, see the hem of your robe in my hand. Since I cut off the hem of your robe and did not kill you, now I understand without question that there is no evil or treason in my hands. I have not sinned against you, though you are lying in wait to take my life. May the Lord judge between me and you, and may the Lord avenge me on you, but my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancients says, out of the wicked comes wickedness, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom was the king of Israel come out? Whom do you pursue with 3,000 men? A dead dog? A single flea? May the Lord be the judge, and render judgment between me and you. and may he see and plead my cause and vindicate me by saving me from your hand. Check out Psalms chapter 142. Verse 16. And when David had finished saying these words to Saul, Saul said, "Is this your voice, my son David?" Then Saul raised his voice and wept. And he said to David, "You are more righteous and upright in God's eyes than I, for you have done good to me, but I have done evil to you. You have declared today the good that you have done to me, for when the Lord put me into your hand, you did not kill me. For if a man finds his enemy, will he let him go away unharmed? So may the Lord reward you with good in return for what you have done for me this day." In verse 19, where it says unharmed, other Bible literature says on the good road. Verse 20. Now therefore I know that you will certainly be king, and that the kingdom of Israel will be established in your hand. So now swear to me by the Lord that you will not cut off my descendants after me, and that you will not destroy my name from my father's household, extended family. And David gave Saul his oath, and Saul went home. But David and his men went up to the mountain stronghold. All right, 1 Samuel chapter 25 talks about Samuel's death, and it says, "Now Samuel died, and all Israel assembled and mourned for him, and they buried him at his house in Ramah. Then David left and went down to the wilderness of Paran." All right, 1 Samuel chapter 25, starting with verse 2, the title goes into Nabal and Abigail, and it says, "Now there was a man in Maon whose business and possessions were in Carmel, and the man was very rich. He had 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats, and he was shearing his sheep in Carmel." Verse 3. Now the man's name was Nabal, and his wife's name was Abigail. She was intelligent and beautiful in appearance, but the man was harsh and evil in his dealings, and he was a Calebite. In verse 3 where it says Calebite, this is, for example, a descendant of Caleb. All right, verse 4. David heard in the wilderness that Nabal was shearing his sheep. So David sent 10 young men, and David said to the young men, "Go up to Carmel and go to Nabal and greet him in my name." In verse 5 where it says greet him, other Bible literature says ask him of his peace, the welfare. So it was customary to greet someone by asking him of his wellness, Hebrew shalom, like how are you? However, David specifies the greetings in verse 6 without the actual question. So the question here in verse 5 is just a way of saying greet him. All right, verse 6. "And this is what you shall say. Have a long peace. Peace be to you, and peace be to your house, and peace to all that you have. Now I have heard that you have shearers. Now your shepherds have been with us, and we have not harmed them, nor were they missing anything all the time they were in Carmel. Ask your young men, and they will tell you. Therefore let my young men find favor in your sight, and be well treated. For we have come on a good festive day. Please give whatever you find at hand to your servants and to your son David." And when David's young men came, they spoke to Nabal according to all these words in the name of David, and then they waited. But Nabal answered David's servants and said, "Who is David? And who is the son of Jesse?"